Hey, Tom here, FlipAnything USA. I'm heading to the lake and I'm getting ready to go on a 5-day fishing trip, and I've just been short on time. So I put a video out. I've actually had 3 videos come out here recently on Ryan Pineda's purchase of 334 units in his the Pineda Fund, or the Pineda Capital Fund, not sure what he calls it. But just looking at the investment so far, I haven't seen much to convince me that this is a good deal. I haven't seen anything to convince me that they're even, that there's any reason to believe it's worth the $21 million they're paying for it. Now, I was a little bit critical because I thought the video that came out created more questions than answers, and I posted some of those questions on Ryan's, basically his offering page, describing the, the asset that they want to purchase is their first. I guess it's their first acquisition. And I know I always say the devil's in the details. Well, I did look further into it. I looked at the, the offering and their memorandum. And again, a thing that was caught my eye right off the bat was a 2% acquisition fee. Well, a 2% acquisition fee on $21 million, you can do the math on that. That's, 400, I guess that'd be 440,000 or something like that. It'd be 400,000 at least. And the problem I have with this is when I have partners and I buy real estate, I've never taken an acquisition fee ever. Okay, I'm buying a property under market. There's the margin. There's the delta, the difference between what I'm paying for it and what it's really worth. And that is somebody, if I'm going in with somebody, of course I want the same. I want to know that we're making money on the deal. I don't want somebody making money off of my purchase right off the get-go. So you can see the conflict, and this is where a lot of people have gotten themselves in trouble when they have created funds. And believe me, I've seen real estate investment trusts. I've been approached by people that represent companies that are with syndications. They want to buy some of my assets, and a lot of times I didn't really get the feel from these people, and I'm not talking about Pineda, I'm talking about others, that they weren't opposed to paying full retail. And so the problem, of course, if you're paying full retail, nobody should take an acquisition fee on buying something that's full retail, or even worse, something that's being sold over retail. The purchase is being bought over retail. So one of the things I put to Ryan Pineda's, question, and he came back, but he responded, but he didn't answer. He says, "Oh, some of that stuff's, in the details." Now, in fairness, one of his team did reach out. He acknowledged that there's a $400,000 acquisition fee. He stated it's not illegal, and it isn't illegal. I know that's not illegal. I just find it a conflict of interest. And I appreciate, I think his name's Austin reaching out. I do appreciate that, and I actually just wrote him an email back a little while ago. He clarified a few things that I had asked in the questions. I don't know why they didn't just do it publicly. I think it's better to do it publicly. But again, the acquisition fee is a big one, and then of course the other thing that's a big one for me is I don't know how they came up with the evaluation that they had of $21 million. Now it's possible they have that calculated based on the cap rate of the asset. That's possible, but it wasn't perfectly clear to me. The other thing is, I've had apartment buildings. I didn't like their walkthrough. I thought that they were, it was really a messy property. It wasn't very clean, wasn't very nice. Everything looks good from the air. It looks good from a distance. It's when you get up close. And they did. They walked through there, and they didn't hide anything. They overlooked the graffiti that was on the walls, or at least they didn't bring it up. They didn't mention it. But as somebody that has owned property, I've had I've had problems with graffiti in the past. I know, and here's another thing, it's in a high crime rate area. So you're in a high crime rate area, and this is the era of defund the police. So it's common news that the crime rate has gone up pretty much everywhere and getting worse. And the cops are afraid to do a lot of things. So they feel stagnated to a degree. They're more afraid for their jobs and their retirement, and so it's an issue to be in a high crime area that could get worse. Now, their team, I think, maybe addressed some of that stuff. Austin, I think he said, they checked with it. They're not too worried about it. That's fine. But I'm just saying, as an investor, my main concern is the valuation. I showed Ryan said if you could see another 300 units for $10 million, because I said to my standards I wouldn't pay $10 million for a property like that. But when I buy to make a profit every time. I'm here to make a profit every time. And so when I buy, I only buy under market, and I don't know any reason I would throw that kind of capital out. Your money's a tool. And that's your biggest asset, and that's one of the reasons I always push everybody to just kind of be their own captain, invest their own money. Now there is a place for passive investors, and that's what they're looking for, basically passive investors. And I know a lot of passive investors that have made big mistakes. I know some big investors that have put some colossal failures together. So it's not that Ryan, he may have done all this due diligence and he may be the wonder boy and make a great deal, but so far I don't like the property. And just for all the reasons that they walk through, the property is not taken care of. And now, granted, they could have new management, and they can fix all that stuff, but all that stuff costs money. And the only comp that I found for me, and it's not an exact comp, you rarely find exact comps. Whenever you have comps that have upward adjustments and downward adjustments. But basically, I found a 24-unit property that was for sale for $40,000 a unit. That's $20,000 a unit less than what this Pineda team is paying for this property that they're buying. So I don't, on the surface, I don't see $20,000 difference per unit. Of course, there's the economies of scale. They should overall have be able to have they should be able to save on management fees and that sort of thing. Just by the sheer quantity that they have, so they can shave some off of that. But again, if I see a property, so let me put it this way: there's 24 units. Somewhat it's a newer building, but it also it's like they have a property that has 10 of these on it. Okay, this is one all by itself, but they have a property with 10 of these on it. And so when you have a property that's comparable, it's still comparable in construction and maybe quality, then it's still a comp. Now you might make an adjustment that the proportionately maybe the management fees are higher on a single 24 unit than they are in a group of properties where there's 10 24 units. Of course, then that's fair. But again, this property is only 1.5 miles away from this one. It doesn't appear to be in any worse or better of a neighborhood. Overall, these are the things that I look at. And I just wanted to come back and address it. I hadn't posted for a couple days because I am so damn busy with my mom's dementia. I'm getting her a new home, and man, that dementia is a nightmare. Let's see if there's any questions here. Yeah. Oh yeah, somebody wrote, Ryan seemed to take offense to the comment. Well, you know what? Listen, I got nothing against Ryan. Like I say, but these are fair questions. When when you're making an offering, you're putting yourself out there. Of course, I love people who play the devil's advocate. It's one of the things I like best. is for people to try to tear down my ideas or what I'm about to do, because I listen, I think about it. They were talking about inside their, they're talking about removing all the fans and putting in dome lights. It's a huge mistake. It's a southern state, hotter than hell. I mean, and believe me, in that class of renter, these people are very conscious about their bills. They don't have a lot of money in that class, in that group, and they don't want to necessarily run the AC all day. And especially if they have a wall unit AC, they need the fan to circulate the air kind of throughout the whole property, or the interior of the building, or the interior of their particular unit. But a lot of people, they won't even use their AC, and they'll strictly rely on just the evaporative features of cold air, or of moving air blowing on them. Then they won't even run the AC unless they just absolutely have to, because it's a big expense. ACs are expensive to run comparative to running a fan, and that's just part of it. Anyways, I don't know what's some of your other thoughts on this. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, I agree with you, and I wrote that back when I replied to Ryan. I said, look, these are questions you ought to be able to answer right off the bat: what the cap rate is, what the vacancy rate is, and I think I believe Austin wrote me back, and I can't swear to it, but I think he said that they've got a roughly 14% vacancy, so anyways, again, the other thing that bothered me was the Tim Batts guy. I didn't quite understand his relationship within the deal. I guess he's a partner he said he was a partner on one side or the other, or on both sides. So I don't know. It's not that it could be explained away. Might make sense, but you have to wonder, why, if this guy's been a part of that property for a year or two, why is it such a mess, and why is it going to change? Now I understand you can throw a bunch of capital at it, and you can fix some of those things, but again, listen. These are fair questions, and listen, never ever feel intimidated to ask questions. And believe me, people are. I see it all the time. And this is one of the things I told Austin, I think his name is. I wrote him back and I said, listen, I'm an investor, and look, I say the masses are the asses, right? The masses are the asses. I say it all the time, and but just because people are gullible and some kind of stupid in general, and some terrible investors, it doesn't mean they're not nice people. And I say the masses are the asses all the time. And the bottom line is, if you fall into one category or the other, they're still nice people. And I don't want to see anybody lose their ass on a bad investment. And likewise, some people extrapolate their experience at being good at one thing and extrapolate it to mean that they're great at everything, and they even convince themselves that they're great at everything, and then other people believe that they also believe it, and then it can end up turning into a colossal failure, and guess what? Everybody loses. So again, that kind of brings me back to the acquisition fee. Now, in what situation would I find it fair for Ryan Pineda, let's say, to get a $400,000 acquisition fee on the purchase? Well, certainly don't want him to get it for just buying a piece of property, even if it's worth $21 million. Even if they got an appraisal that says this is worth $21 million. Well, because if he gets a $400,000 acquisition fee, then in essence, it's a $21,400,000 purchase, depending on how you look at it. Or you would basically have to say that everybody's dollar has been reduced by 2%. Because if they're making money off the people that are buying the property, the partners, then basically they're taking 2% of everybody's money. So it's just devalued your dollar, in a way. So again, nothing unethical, nothing illegal with what they've done. But again, I was also had commented back to him. Because I said I didn't like the idea that his sister's in there. He's got another person within the team that's associated with this True Books, Again, it's properly disclosed, that's fine, but this can really bite you later on. And I also said, look, I think Ryan ought to just run from this deal. I wouldn't touch it. I mean, it's just not worth it. I mean, he's got a good thing going as it is, and you can make a fortune with your own money. You don't need anybody else's, especially when you're already making pretty decent money like he seems to be. But what I was going to say is, if things do go wrong, believe me, they call it a straw man. Okay, a straw man. Look that up. Straw man. Okay, straw man, or they'll call it a straw plan sometimes. But basically, to lawyers, it's kind of a work of art, where they can, in other words, if it was alleged there was overcharging for any of the services that are done by those companies that are run by Ryan Pineda. So you got the Ryan Pineda Fund, and then you got the these little companies or workers within these companies, or the companies themselves doing work for that fund. If somebody makes the allegation that they're overpaying and that sort of thing, lawyers would love that. So to me, it's better to just remove anything that looks improper or that could be perceived as a conflict of interest. Now, they have not done that. They for sure have not removed the appearance of what could be a conflict of interest. And it's better to just make it as clean as possible and not have anything that can be perceived that way, real or not. You just take that off the table by eliminating that. But whatever, that's what they're doing. They're doing what they're doing. Nothing illegal with it, just something that I wouldn't want a part of. As somebody that I might even be putting a fund together, I've had some partnerships in the past. Generally, the partnerships I've done, I've never taken an acquisition fee. In fact, I've always been the majority investor. So in other words, I buy something for $3 million. I'll be putting $2 million plus into the deal myself. Now, why? Now, why, Tom? Why would you do that? Well, because I want to make the majority of the profit. And really, for my partners should want me to make the majority of the profit too, because they want me to be the majority partner invested. They want me to be the one that has the most to lose, okay? Now, here's the difference. In that, what I just described in a typical partnership that would be for me, I have the most to lose, okay? That is what, if you're going to invest with somebody, you're going to sleep better at night knowing that the guy that you're investing with has put in maybe, 7 or 8 times more, has invested 10 times more than you. You'll feel a lot more comfortable knowing that the guy that is running the show has a lot more to lose than you. He's going to be working his ass off and doing everything he can. Now, if the guy walks in and basically takes an acquisition fee and makes, say, $400,000 on day one and has very, very little invested, then that might give you some concerns, because it's a win. You know what I mean? It's a win for that person, whether the fund is good or bad. And that's what I don't like about what I see. And Ryan actually wrote that he's got hundreds of thousands of dollars invested. Well, even if he puts a few $100,000 of his own money in it, if he takes $400,000 back like that day one, he could still be money ahead, and he could invest $300 and take $400 out upon the purchase based on these numbers. And I'm not saying I know these things exact. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but so far, that's what I've been told. He's taken a $400,000 acquisition fee, and he's personally investing some of his own money. Again, make what you want out of it, but it could easily just be a wash with the fact that he's got money coming in from the purchase after he's putting money down. Other than that, and I'm heading to the lake, so I'm going to start getting into a rough area for reception. So we'll cut it here pretty soon. I'll pull over here in a sec, and see whatever questions or comments you guys have. And but again, I want everybody to know I'm not personally attacking Ryan Pineda in any way whatsoever. I'm just looking at the merits of the deal, what's constructed, what's been shared. That's fair game. And from what I've seen, he looks like a nice kid, nice guy. I say kid, he's a nice young man. I don't know how old he is, younger than me. In fact, Spencer Cornelia told me that Ryan Pineda was a very solid, good guy, family man. That's all good stuff. Like to hear that. But even a good family man can make a mistake. Bottom line, good people can make big mistakes, and that's the kind of thing that I look out for myself, for my family, for my friends, for my subscribers. And let me see, I'm going to pull over here. It is a beautiful day in the sun. I got to run. My girlfriend's waiting for me. She's going to be pissed if I take much more time. I got to get a bag of charcoal for barbecue. So let me take a look. Hey, Liam, how you doing? Glad you're here, buddy. How much would an appraisal for a property like that even cost? Well, if nothing else, Liam, it could be very expensive. It could be, it just depends on how in-depth they go. You can actually walk through it. Everything's typical of each other. But in the end, at a minimum, you would want to sample at least a large amount of the occupied units. You would want to look at the rent roll and see who's paid, because you could be 86% occupied, but you may have a 20% deficit on people paying their rent on time. Did I replace the Cayenne? No, this is what is this? This is a Macan. This is a Porsche Macan. I got my Cayenne is in the shop, and they gave me this to drive while they're working on mine. I turned a corner the other day and cold water hit my foot. There's some sort of cold water coming from things blowing. Well, no, listen, you can do an income approach like you're talking about, Zach, but you still need to look at the property itself. Hey, Delta. Yeah, I don't know, and I'm not going to say it's a scam. I don't think so. I think he's got a lot. I think he's a good guy. I just don't like the investment so far. But yeah, Liam, it could be 20 grand at least. Where do we find the PPM on this property? Definitely didn't bring the seller Mountain Rock onto a show. The fact that the seller was on the show was weird. Yeah, I agree. It was a little odd seeing Tim Bratz saying I'm on the seller side, but he's also on the buyer side. Yeah, you're right. Because especially when Ryan always seems to brag about how much he beats the sellers down. Yeah, that's an interesting observation. I really haven't watched any Ryan Pineda stuff, to be quite honest, other than that one. I saw something with this other guy, Chad Chandler, something or other, buying a car, and I guess they're both buying the same cars. And he called Ryan a master negotiator. Maybe not. I don't know. But the bottom line is, you're right. If Ryan's gig is kind of, boasting that he's a great negotiator, which I am too, okay? That's how I made all my money. At the same time, it would be difficult. You don't really want to brag about what a great deal you're getting when you're standing next to this guy that's selling it to you. But again, it just, to me, like I said, didn't kind of pass the smell test. And it may not be anything other than, just they didn't, I don't know. Anyhow, I put the questions to Ryan. He can answer them or not. But whatever. But the bottom line is, this is fair conversation over such, on such a deal like this. Anyways, I got to run, guys. So, hey, thanks. Have a great time. I'm going to go grill a steak, and, maybe I'll pop back in later. And thanks for watching. See ya.